Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing a wrap-up. My first wrap-up in a while and the first one of 2021. How exciting. So because I no longer do TBRs for the month, you guys have had really no indication of what I've been reading in January, aside from the theme was finish what you've started. And I took that as an opportunity to finish a lot of series and a lot of books that were left over from my December TBR or that I really just didn't want to leave in 2020. So let's just get right into it. Why not? Let's just start talking about books. This is a booktube channel. This is the first book I read in January, The Shadow of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. So this book is based off of the Avatar: The Last Airbender television show that aired on Nickelodeon. After the original run with Aang, there was the next generation of Avatar, which was Korra. But before Korra, before Aang, was Kyoshi. And we're following her story as she was Avatar. I believe it's just a duology. So we had The Rise of Kyoshi, which I finished in December, which was the first book, which kind of showed her becoming the Avatar, also how she figured out she was the Avatar and how she went about some of her training. And then in The Shadow of Kyoshi, we're really tying up loose ends. We're really just solidifying Kyoshi's place, solidifying who she is going to be as an Avatar, and how she really made her mark on a lot of the world. And I gave it a 5-star because it was absolutely perfect and it really blew me away. I was really expecting this book to not feel like it belonged in the Avatar world. I was waiting for it to not feel in theme, in character. I was really waiting for it to fall off, and it did not. It was really good, really fun, really exciting, exactly what I expected, and the story was so lovely. It was just gorgeous, and I love it. Pop that right on up there. Hello, girlfriend. Alright, the next book that I read in January is a graphic novel. It is Lock and Key Master Volume 3. So this is the Master Edition. It is the ending of the Lock and Key comic or graphic novel series. It was a letdown, which was kind of sad and disappointing to me because I really, really enjoyed the graphic novels. I know there's a Netflix TV show. It's not my jam. I watched season 1. I didn't like it. It's just not for me. The graphic novels, however, were really, really, really good, and I loved the story, and I loved what was going on, and then the ending just really felt like it fell flat. Like, there was a lot of scary... What am I trying to say? Like, there were stakes. There were things that were happening, right? But I didn't care as much as I did in the first 2 master volumes. So that was really kind of disappointing. I mean, it wrapped up. It was fine. It was an ending, but it's not something that's going to stick with me. I gave it a 3-star. Just start putting these books back as I'm done talking about them. Yeah. Yeah. I have a totally different bookshelf by the time I'm finished. The next book that I picked up was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This one I picked up because it was a book that I had wanted to read as soon as it came out in 2020, but because I wanted the special edition with pretty edges, I had to wait for it to be shipped to me. I didn't get it until, I think, late November, early December, and by that point, I was already well on my way into my mood reading for December. But I really didn't want to continue further on into 2021 without reading this. I've heard mixed things. I've heard that it utterly destroyed some people. I've heard that other people really just, it was fine. I've heard a lot of things about it being very white. That has been a conversation that has come up a lot. And as someone who is mixed race, who doesn't feel a connection to any of the races that I am, it's hard for me to find books that are very clearly about me. I can read a book about a Latina, but it's not going to be my experience, and I'm not going to relate to her because I didn't grow up in a Latin household. I can read some novels about Europeans and people in Germany and Italy and Britain, and feel like, okay, that's maybe a little bit more similar, but not really. No story. I've never read a story about a mixed race person who has no connection to culture or anything. I'm American. That's what I feel mostly connected to. I feel mostly connected to America, the free, the beautiful land of letting me do whatever I want. And, I don't really feel connection to the cultures and the ethnicities that were given to me. I don't really feel like I am of the authority to say whether something is too white or not, because, I mean, unfortunately, because of how mixed I am, I'm never gonna get a story that is exactly for me. So, to relate to characters, instead of looking at their race or ethnicity, because I am in a position where I will never find representation like that, I look for representation in my trauma, in my struggles. Do these people understand the things that I've been through? And for the most part, Addie LaRue did. I very much related to Addie. More so, I related to the character of Henry. Once he became more part of it, I really started to, I feel like, love the story more. Addie's perspective on life is that she wants so much more of it. She just wants to experience life. And I thought that was such a sweet and great and really beautiful point of view, perspective, that she was really willing to give up her ability to make a mark on anything just to experience life. And that's such a really beautiful thought. And I think that's really what this book was about, was that we as the reader weren't supposed to connect to Addie. Addie was supposed to teach us something. And I think that's that's where it hit me, and that's where I really started to connect with it. Because I more so very much resonated with the character of Henry, and when Addie came into Henry's life, that's really what it felt like. The book of Addie LaRue was coming into my life. It was really a beautiful conversation about life and about how it's worth living, and how even small, tiny moments of happiness are worth it in the end. No matter how much struggle you go through, or pain or turmoil, when you have small moments, they can really add up. And they add up to a really beautiful, beautiful life. And I think that is really what this point of the story was. Does it make sense right off the bat that Addie LaRue met no people of color her entire 300 years? No, of course it doesn't make sense. But does it make sense that Addie LaRue, being born in the 1900s, where there wasn't really a lot of travel happening, and on top of that she felt like her home was France? Like, let's be honest. It would take me a long time to leave the United States. It just would. I very much like it here. This is my country. I feel like it's my home. I don't really feel connected to other places. Maybe I'd go and visit, but I really much would like to have a home. And that's really what Addie is trying to do throughout her whole life. So, is it strange to me that she met no people of color? Yes. Is it that strange that she didn't leave her home? No. So, give and take what you will about the whiteness factor. I thought it was very well done, and I liked it. 5 stars for me. After I read Addie LaRue, I decided to read the rest of the ACOTAR series, because A Court of Silver Flames is coming out soon. If it's not out already, it's coming out within a week. So I wanted to get these read and done, so that way I could be pretty much on schedule with everyone else when they're reading. On top of that, I have seen so many spoilers, you guys. It's not even funny. So I might as well have just gotten into it. What do I even say? 4 stars across the board. Very much enjoyed it. I really liked A Court of Mist and Fury. I thought that was very entertaining. It was very... ooh, girl, it was exactly what you want, you know? This felt very YA. It felt very romance. It felt very much like, here's your ferryman, girl, go get him. And not only that, but it also had a lot to do with like growing after trauma, which was something that I did not expect. A lot of the memes, a lot of the fan art, a lot of even the rant reviews that I've seen about this, not a lot of people talk about the trauma that these characters went through when Amarantha was around. And this book is all about them getting over it and trying to find solace and trying to live with themselves. And fairies, YA, it's my jam. So I wasn't really surprised that I enjoyed this. What I was surprised about, in fact, was the emotional depth and I guess intelligence that was discussed, because it was, like I said, it was a lot of these characters went through 50 years of horrible torture. They're trying to live with themselves. And it's just beautiful. It's really, really great. I really liked the world expansion. I liked that we got so much more of the other courts. Very fun, very good. 4 stars. Wings and Ruin was probably my favorite because of the war aspect of it. Still YA, still romance, much more fantastical elements, much more war. It really felt like there were stakes. I was scared, I was nervous for my characters. Oh man, and this one also starts after a cliffhanger. This starts after a cliffhanger from this one, so you know I just picked right back up, and I couldn't even... For any of those of you who read Mist and Fury and then had to wait for Wings and Ruin, how did you even manage? I'm surprised, because I would have died. Absolutely lovely, absolutely wonderful. The fact that I'm not giving them 5 stars really hinges on the fact that I know that this is my jam, you know? And so it's one of those things where I'm a little bit biased, you know? I can't really say exactly all of the reasons why I love these, but I love them unconditionally, you know? As opposed to something like the Starless Sea or the Night Circus, where I have real words to tell you about why I love those things so much, and that I will always give them 5 stars and defend them to my death. But these ones are more like, yeah, there's the romance element and the fantasy element and the war element and the fairies. Like, I really like all of those things, but I'm not entirely sure this is like 5-star material, you know? So I'm just bordering on a 4, or if we're bordering on a 4 and 5 star, I am gonna give them 4 stars just because I know that they aren't perfect. I'm just gonna say that. They're not perfect. They could be. They're really excellent. They're something that I'm gonna return to all the time, always. But definitely not perfect, but they are my jam. A Court of Frost and Starlight. This was such an adorable little read. It was something that took me a little bit longer to get through, even though it's so tiny, mainly because... Oh, here's my bookmark. Mainly because it was the end, and then I had to wait for Silver Flames, Court of Silver Flames, so that just kind of made me sad. What I very much enjoyed about this was the switching perspectives. I really enjoyed getting to see more of Nesta and see what's kind of going on in her head. I felt like I didn't know. I felt like while the other characters were very much well discussed and well developed in the other 3 books, I felt like Nesta was a character who... She was kind of like the bad human guy. You know, if in every fantasy element movie there's the fantastical bad guy and then the human bad guy, Nesta felt like the human bad guy who was just bad because, like, humans need to be bad too. So this book actually really opened it up, really kind of gave her a bit of humanity, and I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed just this winter holiday and this sweet little story, little snack. I loved it. 4 stars again. Moving on, we're getting in there. Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. Notes from the Hood Feminism. Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall. This is actually the first book that I read and listened to the audiobook for, mainly because it is my first nonfiction in a very long time, and I was very distractible. So we decided that I just needed to get a little bit more focused, put on the audiobook. It was actually a lovely experience, my first experience doing multimedia books. 5 stars. So obviously this is a nonfiction. I can't rate it on like the compile system. So more so what I've used and taken is what information is being presented in the book. Is it being presented in a way that I understand? Is it giving me new information? Is it gonna stick with me? Is this information gonna stick with me? And is it going to make me want to educate myself further? So those are the criteria I was kind of working with loosely. And honestly, this was amazing because first of all, talking about things that I knew nothing about, of course, that's what it's for, really opened my eyes, really changed my perspective on a lot of things, and really kind of widened my gaze. It was really eye-opening. That's really what I keep coming back to, because a lot of the issues she was bringing up, I was like, wow, really? I just never even would have thought of it like that. And of course I wouldn't. That's what this book is for. And that was such an interesting thing as well, because she was very clearly telling me things that I knew nothing about, but not once did she make me feel like a fool. She just made me feel like I was ignorant, and I was ignorant. And now with reading more information, I'm not, definitely not a professional on the subject, but for sure I feel like I know a lot more than I did before, and I'm definitely looking at other issues, more social issues, from a different lens than I have before. So absolutely perfect. I do recommend. I do think it should be required reading for everybody. This was ridiculous how much I just didn't even think about nor knew, because the American education system sucks. This book is great. Pick it up. The last 2 books that I read were for book clubs. I read The Shining by Stephen King. This was for the late night book club hosted by Noel, Joel, and Elias. So this is my first King. This is my first finished Stephen King. And 3 stars. I watched the movie before I read the book, and when I was reading the book, a lot of me was looking at the differences between the movie and the book, but also noticing that Stephen King did not fail to put in a bunch of sexist things, racist things, really uncomfortable things. Yeah, it was really, those parts really took me out of the book, and if it wasn't for those parts, this would probably be a 5-star book, because it was very psychological, very much in depth, in a character's mind, in every character's mind. I know the Torrances very well, and Stephen King also knows the Torrances very well. King has this way of knowing exactly the world he put you in, and he's gonna tell you about it. Not once are you ever just getting like a brief description of the Overlook or its history or anything. There is chapter upon chapter upon chapter of the history, of description. He is so up his own world. It's great, it's beautiful. Not once did I ever question that this hotel ever existed at all, because the history is there, but it was a lot. This was another one of the books that I actually picked up the audiobook, so that way I could finish about like halfway. I picked up the audiobook, but boy, do I recommend the audiobook for this, because there's a lot of inner monologue going on, and the narrator really got into it, maybe a little too into it. But it was really creepy, and as soon as it starts getting to the creepy stuff, more so into parts 4 and 5, it's crazy. I really enjoyed it, and I think that if you've watched the movie, you will still get a lot of enjoyment from reading the book. It is a very different story. I feel like In the movie, you're getting more of Jack Torrance going crazy, and in the book, you're getting a lot of the Overlook as the hotel itself is an evil entity, and it's preying on this family. And it's really, really interesting. They're two very different stories. You can enjoy both of them very equally, I feel like. And the ending is different in the book. So, if you're worried about, well, I know the ending, no, you don't. The ending's different. So, very exciting. Really enjoyable, especially for my first Stephen King. You know, it could have done without the gross depictions of women and the one person of color that was in this story. But it had it. And the last book I actually finished just yesterday, the last day of January, The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This is actually, let me take off the cover, because I think that books that are plain like this are very, very beautiful, but also it really just works with the theme, with the style, with the creepy. It's exciting. Really enjoyed this book. I am giving it, it's hard because I just finished this one, but I think I'm going to give it a 4-star. This book was very different than a lot I've read. Normally in, like, I don't know, I guess normally in like a dystopia, the main character knows she's in a dystopia and is like, yeah, let's, you know, break the rules and change the game, but like, she doesn't at first. Our main character, Emmanuel, just is like in this cult, and she's like, yeah, this is life, you know, things kind of suck sometimes, but you know, it's not like whatever. Yeah, and it's not really until like something really bad happens that she's like, wow, these people suck and I need to get out of here. But it's even more so because there's fantasy elements, there's witches, there's magic, the cult is being cursed. It's something that I haven't read anything like this before at all, so that's why I think it might get a 5-star, but really, I just need to sit with it for a little bit longer. It was really good. It's, sorry, I got stuck reading the blurbs on the back. There's a lot of people on the back saying, like, ooh, eerie, bone-chilling, creepy, haunt your dreams. It was definitely creepy. I don't know if it was, like, there's one book with the teeth, and, whew, that book really chilled me. This wasn't as chilling as, what was it? It wasn't as chilling as Sharp Objects, but still very good. Still very good. Very much enjoyed it. 4 stars. A lot of my books in January ended up being higher rated, mainly because I really wanted to get my reading this year off to a good start. I really wasn't trying to read anything that I thought would put me off. And if you ever wonder why I give books high ratings or why my ratings feel so high, mainly it's because I read books that I think I will like. So I already am stacking the cards in my favor. So if you're ever worried, like, how is she giving these books 4 stars? All of these books are 4 stars. Her rating is ridiculous. No. I only read books that I enjoy, and I don't rate books that I DNF. So we'll see how that goes in February when I attempt to read romance for the first time. Let's get everyone together. We'll say goodbye. Oh, it's been a long time since we said goodbye all together, you guys. Alright, aside from the few that I put away, here's the other books that I read this month, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!